A few days ago at a business forum, I heard several company owners discussing the same concern. The problem nowadays isn't that it's hard to hire people, but that it's becoming harder and harder to understand people. This issue probably speaks to the feelings of countless managers. In today's episode, let's open the chapter on talent management in numbers phenomena humans to understand why so many companies are now adopting MBTI. But if MBTI helps you categorize people based on external traits, then numbers phenomena is like equipping you with an X-ray machine that lets you see through to their true nature. It allows you to look beyond appearances and gain deeper insight into each individual's completely unique patterns of thinking, behavioral habits, personality traits, emotional responses, stress management abilities, as well as the development path that truly suits them, and all-encompassing authentic information about this life. Let's step into the chapter on talent management together and explore the true significance of numbers phenomena in talent management.
Understand the principles of life and comprehend the realm of time. Welcome to this program from the Numbers Phenomena Developer, developed by teacher Dai-Shin Ai. Analyzing the core content from the book Numbers Phenomena Human, we explore the essence of life behind numbers.
Have you noticed that all kinds of personality tests are now very popular? Many companies require candidates to take the MBTI during interviews. Many job seekers, after completing the test, seem to be a perfect fit for the job based on their reports. However, within less than a month after joining, they realize that the job isn't actually a good match for them. The enthusiasm and confidence shown during the interview through the personality test, with seemingly outstanding execution, ends up, after actually entering an industry, falling into endless procrastination, avoidance, and internal conflict. As a result, many job seekers and talent managers are now extremely anxious. In fact, it's not that you're not professional enough, it's just that in this era, time is the primary cost. So we are eager to quickly understand a person. Under the pressure of such high-speed, high-efficiency business environments, we instinctively look for all kinds of standards to help us make decisions. So we have increasingly latched onto MBTI. We grabbed onto a wide variety of different personality tests and behavioral models. Some bosses even want to carefully examine a candidate's birth chart or zodiac sign before hiring. The reason we do this is because deep down, we desperately hope there could be something like a medical checkup report that we can glance at and instantly understand a person. This stems from the very basic and fundamental needs of businesses. This need is that we require more accurate ways to identify, understand, and select people. So in this uncertain business environment, we have to rely on some data that we can refer to. But here's the problem. Take MBTI, which is hugely popular right now at its core. It's a shortcut in cognition. Why do I say that? Because a lot of the time, these self-assessment-based tests are more about measuring the kind of person someone wishes to be. But that may not be the truth. Think about it carefully. These standards are a set of externally imposed classification criteria. In other words, we use fixed answers to standardize a group of people, but these have little to do with the individual's essence and the underlying logic of their life. To put it simply, there is almost no real connection at all. It's like taking a glass to the seaside, carefully scooping up a small cup of seawater, and then saying, "Now I know exactly what the sea is like." But the problem is, what you are actually looking at is just the shape of the glass, not the vast ocean itself. It's like trying to use a fixed container to hold a moving soul. In the end, what you end up testing is always the shape of the container, not the truth of life. However, let's take a step back and look at this. Why do so many multinational corporations insist on using these personality testing tools nowadays? They undertake this process in order to better understand the unique differences between individuals. Essentially, the ultimate objective is to create more resonance between the position and the job seeker. Because in the end, you'll find that the HR department is never really managing tasks, but rather understanding the differences between people. So, all companies are actively searching for an effective way to quickly understand a person. Everyone is searching for a way to understand individuals more quickly. Across the world, fields like management and psychology are all seeking channels that can provide deeper insights into various aspects of individuals, and it's precisely because of this fundamental desire. That's why we've developed all kinds of personality tests and behavioral models. From the perspective of numbers phenomena, each distinct life trait becomes even clearer and more defined. For example, the Cosmomk numbers phenomena has been serving universities for a long time now. Various institutions and enterprises use this technology for HR-related business information. This is because the information presented by numbers phenomena is perfectly and consistently aligned with the underlying data of each unique individual. Numbers phenomena never force things to fit. We simply restore the objective truth. And only by facing the truth of life can we demonstrate the highest level of respect to every unique soul and every unique individual. So, what kind of specific information can numbers phenomena provide? Let's use the MBTI, which everyone is familiar with, to further understand the differences in numbers phenomena. The MBTI is a test that relies on the test taker's own subjective understanding to answer the questions. It also crudely divides all of humanity into 16 categories, so on average tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of people around the world share exactly the same personality label. When taking the MBTI test, I believe many of you have had this experience. The question gives you two options, A and B, but you do not actually feel that A truly fits you. But when you choose option A, you're really just eliminating the choice that feels even less like you and picking the one that is left. Is that really a reflection of your true self? Let's take a look at a few examples. For instance, questions like these often appear in the test. The first question is, do you often make new friends? And the second question, do you feel comfortable approaching someone you find interesting? Taking the initiative to talk to them. These two questions are of the same type, mainly designed to test whether you have an extroverted personality tendency, which we often refer to as E-type. But we need to understand that everyone's life information, as reflected in different aspects of their unique characteristics, is different. So even when it comes to making friends, there are actually very complex motivations intertwined behind it. Whether a person is extroverted cannot be determined just based on these questions. A person having many friends does not necessarily mean they are extroverted. So, which number combinations would make such a test inaccurate? Let's take one of these number combinations as an example. For instance, let's look at friends who have the high-level numbers 1661 categories. If your phone number or common combinations include numbers 166174447 categories, interacting with them feels like a breath of fresh spring air. You'll notice these friends, when entering a new environment, aren't always the most outgoing, but they often make people feel most at ease. This is because those with high-level numbers 1661 categories have this quality. They possess a strong sense of empathy in every detail. This sensitivity to the finer points also makes them appear very understanding in interpersonal relationships. However, this is also where problems can arise within the black box of life. The numbers phenomena present the truest information about life. The formation of each person's strengths is always accompanied by its own flaws. Because as humans, the information in our lives is inevitably limited. So when the numbers phenomena reveal the information of each life, what does that mean? We call this the coexistence of strengths and weaknesses from the same source. Just like we mentioned earlier, for people who possess the high-level numbers 1661 categories when they are faced with, do you often make new friends? When faced with such assessment questions, how would they answer? Let's first put ourselves in their shoes. In their work and daily life, various practical situations often require them to make new friends. And they do manage to do so, but does this become the main basis for judging whether they have an extroverted personality? This is extremely unfair to them, and it does not reflect the reality of life, because it is precisely the sensitivity in their personality that gives them delicate and considerate qualities. And it is also this sensitivity and meticulousness that make them experience emotional fluctuations, melancholy, sadness, and overthinking more intensely than others. Many times, a casual remark from someone else, even if said unintentionally, can be taken to heart by them and brought back into their inner world. They chew over it repeatedly, magnify it again and again, and may even cause tsunami-like emotional upheavals as a result. This often leaves them feeling emotionally exhausted in the process of interacting with others, and we should understand that this is only one aspect of the information related to the numbers 1661 categories in interpersonal relationships. However, when different numbers phenomena like 162, 163, 164, 165, 166, 167, 168, and 169 unique numbers from your phone or the numbers an individual uses appear in their lives, what they present is unique information about that individual, completely different from others. Therefore, in our course, we will go in depth to explain each different number's combination structure, and when they are combined, the different underlying causes that manifest in various aspects of life, and the final, concrete results that are realized in reality. The numbers phenomena, as the presentation of information about each of our distinctly different lives from birth to death, reveals comprehensive information about every aspect of a person's life. So even if there is a set of numbers combination that are highly similar, as long as there is just one number that is different, the information about the causes and effects in all aspects of this life, presented by the entire set, will undergo a complete change. Why is that? This is why we say that everyone in the world has a different mobile phone number. The numbers phenomena presents information unique to the individual, so even with the same type numbers 1, 6, 6, 1 categories, the roles these numbers play in their lives are completely different. You will notice that among those with this combination, even if they all share the trait of strong empathy, but when placed in the lives of different people and combined with different numbers combination, this empathy will lead to completely different outcomes, and the reasons behind the development of this empathy will also be entirely different. So for friends with the high-level numbers 166, 17447 categories, does this empathy result in making friends that ultimately leaves you feeling emotionally exhausted? Or does it lead to self-doubt, internal conflict, or perhaps peace of mind? Is it about being straightforward and outspoken, or is it about treating others with a strong sense of responsibility and dedication? I believe everyone understands now that within a numbers combination, whenever even a single number is different, the underlying reasons and the overall outcomes in just the dimension of making friends will be completely and fundamentally different. So if we only use whether someone makes new friends as the criterion to judge if a person is extroverted, then this answer is definitely inaccurate.
Understand the principles of life and comprehend the realm of time. Welcome to this program, hosted by developer teacher Dai-Shin Ai. Through analyzing the core content from teacher Dai-Shin Ai's book, Number Phenomena Human, guiding you in exploring the deeper essence of life hidden behind numbers.
Through numbers phenomena, you will gain deep insight into every distinctly different soul. Some people appear very outgoing, but in reality, he is not actually a truly outgoing person, he just has to be. He has no choice but to make new friends, to step into crowds, and to force himself to appear lively. You'll see him skillfully navigating social situations, always right there in the very midst of the excitement. But once he's alone again, he feels utterly exhausted inside. This kind of forced socializing leaves him feeling emptier and more tired, making him want to immediately disappear and become invisible in the crowd. People are extremely complex, and there are many numbers combination in life that lead us to keep making new friends. But in interpersonal relationships, what it brings him instead is even more psychological burden. Just this one sentence is something that many people with different numbers simply can't relate to or understand at all. Many people will think, since you're obviously so capable and able to make so many friends, how can you still have the nerve to say you're tired? Isn't that just whining for no reason, just being melodramatic? And it is precisely because of this lack of understanding, because of the asymmetry of underlying information between people, that we can easily develop within a relationship that was originally close and intimate a sense of opposition and discord. This is what we refer to as a difference in values. And by observing the different numbers phenomena in each real life, you'll find that there truly are many people who are experiencing loneliness, inner conflict, torment, and exhaustion, even while surrounded by others. The examples we just gave are only a few among many such mindset combinations. Among them, the high-level numbers 1661 categories differ in their origins in each individual life, and their structures and the impacts they have throughout life are also different. Once you begin to study numbers phenomena, you will truly see that even something as simple as making friends has completely different underlying causes, processes, and future directions in different people's lives. From the brand new perspective of numbers phenomena, we will discover an ultimate truth. In this world, in life, nothing happens by chance. Through the study of numbers phenomena, you will learn the root causes behind every event that occurs in each person's life. Because through numbers phenomena, you possess the real information from the intricate layers behind each event. For example, when faced with the question of whether you will make new friends, the answer from the numbers 1661 categories is a definite yes. But is that really the true answer? Actually, it's not. They're not extroverted, and every time they act extroverted, it comes at the cost of exhausting themselves amid countless emotional fluctuations. This is also why people with the high-level numbers 1661 categories are prone to developing various physical illnesses due to emotional ups and downs, as well as psychological distress. So when we try to determine whether someone is extroverted through this kind of Q&A, the answer is definitely not accurate. If you are a business owner and you use these types of questions to judge a person's personality, the answers you get, whether for the company or for the individual being assessed, are fundamentally and deeply unfair because they cannot truly address the actual complex requirements and demands of the position, nor can they accurately reflect the true and authentic characteristics of the individual's abilities. There are many questions exactly like this in the MBTI test. For example, let's look closely at this specific question. When facts and feelings are in conflict, do you listen to your inner heart and intuition? This question is used to effectively distinguish whether a person is a T-type or an F-type. That is, whether they are driven by logic or guided by emotion. To put it more simply, If a person follows their heart, meaning their feelings outweigh the facts, then they will be categorized and classified as an F-type. If what they are seeking to find in a conflict is the facts, then they will be categorized specifically as a T-type. In other words, for them, the factual level significantly outweighs the emotional level. You'll notice that most of these questions are either or, black and white choices. It's as if a person's heart can only hold two kinds of answers. But we need to understand that the life each person presents, based on their numbers phenomena, contains not just a third or fourth answer, but countless possibilities beyond these two options. For example, people with the numbers 2, 8, 8, 2, 3, 9, 9, 3 categories at the low level are the ones who should most follow their inner feelings. Friends with this combination are extremely attentive and care deeply about their loved ones, family, friends, and every detail around them. They care about everything deeply. Sometimes this level of concern can lead to a lot of unresolved feelings, creating a sense of oppression and heaviness. They are constantly communicating with their own hearts, so they should be the ones who most pursue their inner selves. But when confronted with the reality of such issues, when there is a clear conflict between reality and their feelings, which path do they typically tend to follow more closely? Most of the low-level numbers, 2, 8, 8, 2, categories will almost certainly choose to adhere more strictly to the facts. Why is that? Because they are too meticulous, so meticulous that they simply cannot let go of the facts. But the issue is their choice to stick with the facts is not truly out of rationality or calm acceptance, but rather because there is a long-standing sense of repression and stubbornness in their hearts that they cannot resolve. So you'll notice a contradiction. They haven't truly chosen the facts, nor have they genuinely followed their hearts. As a result, they seem stuck in the middle for a long time, wanting to let go, but unable to, wanting to move on, but repeating the same cycle. The more they try not to care, the more they find themselves thinking about it over and over again late at night. So, friends who possess these kinds of traits often find that, under the long-term influence of such a mindset, their psychological state falls into what we label as repression and depression. Why do I say label? Because even the symptoms of repression themselves are a kind of labeling. Yes, that's right. Do you still remember what we just talked about? Any difference in the combination leads to a completely different overall meaning in life. For everyone who has numbers categories 2, 8, 8, 2, 3, 9, 9, 3 in their life, any variation in the numbers results in entirely different psychological states, complex causes for their formation, and different impacts and outcomes for their future development. It is precisely because of these differences that it is very difficult for us to use a single term to summarize them, or a single therapy to heal them. This is why, among the many different therapies in psychology today, more often than not, they cannot cure, but can only control and intervene. Because how can we use the same method when every individual life is entirely unique and distinct? And now, our way of labeling makes us use a one-size-fits-all standardized approach to deal with completely different symptoms. So how can such symptoms ever truly be cured? This is also why many students have said that if they could only study one subject in their lifetime, it would definitely be numbers phenomena, because it is the only channel of information that can clearly provide insight into each of our completely different life journeys. But in many of these label-based tests, it ultimately just boils down to a statement like, you are more emotional or you are more logical. When you look at all these different psychological tests, you'll realize that the underlying logic behind them is guiding you toward a certain label through your answers. It's quite similar to the information echo chambers created in today's modern short video era. You'll notice that the longer you watch these short videos, the more the platform feeds you specific content that aligns perfectly with your preferences. It continuously reinforces your existing likes through external information, keeping you in a constant cycle of familiar and similar stimuli. Essentially, this is also a distinct form of labeling. On one hand, we are seeking to be understood, but on the other hand, it's very difficult for us to find a truly unique channel to observe the information of each individual life. So in the end, we can only rely on external labels as a way to understand a person. As we have thoroughly discussed in our earlier chapters, people actually love to name things and put specific labels on them. Once something is clearly named and labeled, we often fall into the false illusion that we already fully understand it. And this is exactly where labels are most likely to take effect. Only by labeling can we develop quickly and understand the world rapidly. But the problem lies here as well. As we become increasingly reliant on labels, we gradually lose the ability, the motivation, and the desire to truly understand each unique life. As a result, we come up with all sorts of generalized solutions, such as the mass production of various health products. For example, the reasoning that categorizes a group of people together without any distinction, or providing standardized advice and solutions. There is also what large corporations do today, personally labeling each distinctly different individual with a specific demographic tag. and then using these labels to determine their future prospects, effectively deciding the course of their career development. The numbers. Phenomena is the manifestation of information that combines the unseen inner world and the incomprehensible outer world of every life. It aligns with every moment from the formation of life to its end. From the moment you are born, every element your parents experienced in their environment has, in subtle ways, influenced you, shaping how your values are formed, affecting the way you view things, and molding the logic you use to handle matters. It shapes the way you express your emotions. It also influences your patterns of interaction in relationships. Gradually, all these factors accumulate, ultimately forming something unique. All this information is reflected in your numbers phenomena. Each of us spends our entire life verifying this, whether or not we are aware of the existence of the numbers phenomena. So you'll notice, in fact, each person is the result of countless details coming together to shape them. Just as there are no two identical leaves in the world, there are also no two identical sets of numbers phenomena. I once had a student who worked in the IT industry, and he used a very interesting example to explain his understanding of numbers phenomena. He went on to explain that when we use a computer program, we often try to understand its function based on its given name. We try to figure out what problems it can solve for us in our work or daily life, and what kind of role it plays. But if all these programs have the same name, and their appearance is also set up similarly, unless you actually use them and spend your own time to try and make mistakes, you have no other way to tell them apart. You can understand what role it plays, but he said after we learn about numbers phenomena, can you tell at a glance whether it leans more toward image processing or logical operations? Is it more suitable for rendering or for data analysis? Their appearances can be designed to look very similar, but their core capabilities are completely different. He used this example to illustrate the role of numbers phenomena in life. Yes, that's exactly right. When someone appears before you, whether it's the relationship between a seeker of knowledge and an interviewer, a business partner, a friend, or even a blind date most of the time, what we see is just the way the other person presents themselves. But what truly determines whether a relationship can last often lies in deeper factors, patterns of thinking, personality traits, ways of interacting, and all the life information related to that individual. Before learning about numbers phenomena, we could only rely on these general personality labels to define a group of people. However, through numbers phenomena, we are able to gain a deeper understanding of the true life information of the person in front of us. In these years of business consulting involving numbers phenomena, many companies and organizations have also been amazed by it. There is also a sense of disbelief, because when such real and unique individual information is brought to light, you will find that the value it brings actually far exceeds and transcends our current level of experience and understanding. Popularizing numbers phenomena is actually about popularizing a more fundamental way of thinking. Truly recognizing the uniqueness of every life and genuine management insight has never been about correcting whether a tree grows crooked or not, nor is it simply about labeling it as a pine tree or rice. Instead, it is about using numbers phenomena to instantly see the unique growth patterns behind each life, which are inherently different. When numbers phenomena can play their inherently high-value role in big data applications, then whether it's in talent management, personalized medicine, mental health prevention and treatment, personalized education, and so on, it will no longer be about using labels to categorize groups of people. What it brings is not just improved efficiency, but a deeper cognitive upgrade at a fundamental level. It can even bring significant value enhancement to all industries. I hope that each time we explain topics related to numbers phenomena human, even though it is not the kind of profound knowledge we teach in our practical courses, but each time you listen, you can clearly see that in our lives, there truly are opportunities to improve and make choices from the root. This allows people in all industries to realize the value of numbers phenomena in life, and that in itself is the most worthwhile thing for life. Thank you all for listening, and see you next time.
Understand the principles of life and comprehend the realm of time. Welcome, Numbers Phenomena students and enthusiasts. Hosted by developer teacher Daishin Ai. Analyzing the core content from the book, Numbers Phenomena Human, we explore the essence of life behind numbers. That concludes this segment for now. In our next session, we will continue to follow teacher Daishin Ai and gain a deeper understanding of the hidden layers of information behind the journey of our lives through numbers phenomena. Please remember, whether you wish to understand yourself more deeply or are searching for answers and direction in life, numbers phenomena can provide you with a clearer, more essential path of understanding and practical, feasible solutions.